Hello, I'm Rabbi Elton from the Great Synagogue in Sydney, and welcome to From the Rabbi's Bookshelves. Our text today is Mesilat Yesharim, The Path of the Just by Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto, known also as the Ramchal, which is an acronym of his name. This is an 18th century work which became more prominent actually in the 19th century. Who was Rabbi Luzzatto? Who was the Ramchal? Well, he was born in Padua in Italy in 1707. He was a genius as a young man, as a child. He studied both the traditional Jewish curriculum and also went to the University of Padua, and he became deeply involved in mystical and Kabbalistic learning. He was a great Hebraist and poet and wrote in the biblical style, for which he received some criticism, and he went for more freedom from Padua, from Italy, to Amsterdam, where he worked as a diamond cutter. He carried on studying and learning and developing his intellectual interests. He refused to teach, but he did write. And in 1738, he wrote the first draft of Mesilat Yesharim, which at that point was the form of a dialogue, a discussion between two figures like the Kuzari that we discussed a few episodes back. It was redrafted in 1740 and now just has one voice. I will begin with the famous introduction of the author, in which he tells you the basic opening principle of the work. He writes, Amar HaMachaber, the author says this, Hachibur Hazer lo chibartiv lelamed livnei adam es asher lo yad'u. This work has not been written to tell people what they don't know. Ella laskiram es yadua lahem, but rather to remind them what they already know. Forusam etzlam pirsum gadol, and which they already have a full awareness of. What's he talking about? Well, this is an ethical work. This is a work which is trying to help people develop their ethical and moral characteristics, virtues of piety and purity, humility, fear of sin. We all know these are the ways that we ought to live. The challenge is actually living in that sort of a way. And so Rabbi Luzzatto felt that by reading in great detail how one would develop these characteristics, you would actually encourage yourself to do so. And it would give you a path, a direction, a series of steps to take in order to achieve that in practice. He published his work in 1740. He went to live in the land of Israel in 1743 and tragically died with his family in a plague in 1746, dying before he was even 40 years old, but left an enormous legacy. Now, in the 19th century, the Mussar movement, the movement of people who were committed to developing their ethical and moral personal characteristics, rediscovered the works of the Ramchal, and particularly this work, known to be his most important and most influential, and they began to encourage its study on a very regular basis. And so in the yeshivot and the Talmudical academies of Eastern Europe, instead of just studying Talmud has been the practice until that time, they introduced regular learning of Mesilat Yesharim and other similar works, so that the students shouldn't just become more intellectually aware and more developed in their analytical learning, but also should develop as finer and better human beings and servants of God. And so this book is still very popular in that way, both in the yeshivot and also amongst people in their own homes and their own lives. This edition, in fact, was given to me in Hinder as a wedding present. Somebody obviously felt we need to be kept on the straight and narrow, and I still have it treasured in my collection at home. Thanks for joining.